Oh my God, yes, we are here. Hello, everyone. Yes, as you can see, this is not a edited video. Kind of last minute, not gonna lie. I will also say I don't know why I'm red. I've tried to fix the camera settings on this ring light, and it just like no matter what I do, I come out looking red. So if you're wondering what happens, there you go. There's no way for me to fix it. But regardless, we're not here to talk about the contrast settings on my camera that I can't seem to fix. We are of course here to talk about there's a new season of Survivor coming up. Yes, tomorrow in fact we have Survivor 47, or as some people might call it, Survivor 40 several. If you know, you know. But regardless, we are here to talk about the new season. I'm very excited for it. I feel like that Survivor has honestly been on kind of an upswing lately. 45 in particular was just such a fantastic season. I love the way they utilized the 90-minute episodes. I thought they did such a great job of just showcasing everything, giving us a better sense of all the different dynamics and really just taking full advantage of that. 46, I was very on and off with. At first, I wasn't the hugest fan of the pre-jury phase, but once we got to the jury, it became such a cracked and insane season that I was just eating every second of it up. And I just really was culminating in a way that just had a really fun winner. So yeah, 47, I'm just really excited to see how the season does turn out. I think there's a lot of potential here. We got a 2-hour premiere starting tomorrow. So yeah, all intents and purposes, I'm very pumped to see how the season does go down. And, since this was really successful with Big Brother, and I'm really liking the way the Big Brother videos have been going, I figured why not do it for Survivor? It just kind of makes sense to do a cast assessment for this season. So we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. Now, similar to Big Brother, I'm going to pull up the photos of everybody as I'm discussing them. I have that open in another doc right here. I also decided that, since I'm doing this on a live stream, I might as well just read the notes in front of me. I don't like reading notes usually. I like when I'm able to just glance at it and then just say it to you, because I don't want it to look like I'm reading the whole time. But on a live stream, it doesn't really matter. So we're just going to pull up the notes I have on here and I will read them in that way. And I will also say right off the bat, I did not get a chance, unfortunately, to watch the interviews. So I'm really just going based or the 1-minute videos they do. I didn't get a chance to watch those in time. Just a lot of things going on. That's part of why this was so super last minute in that way. So as a result, I'm really just going based off this Entertainment Weekly article, and I will just kind of give my thoughts from there. But either way, we're just going to go ahead and just jump right into it. So I am going to do this basically structuring the tribe dynamics. I think that's probably the easiest way to do this, because since I know who's going to be on each tribe, I can have a better way of kind of gauging how I think they're going to do, their overall role on that tribe, who I think they're going to bond with. I think that's the easiest way to really go about something like this. And so let me just pull it up right now. Oh, there is the tweet that I am looking for. So we're going to go ahead and do it in that order. So with that, the first person that we ultimately are going to end up talking about here, who, I think, right off the bat, I'm really excited to get to talk to this I'm really excited to talk first about the Gata tribe, who we have the first person. And I am going in alphabetical order. I think that's the best way to really do this one. So the first person we have here is Andy. There's Andy right there. And we're going to pull up Andy. So Andy is 37, currently resides in Buffalo, New York. He also currently, his hometown was in Buffalo, New York, but he also currently resides there. Very important to not mix those two things up. He currently is an AI research assistant. I don't really like that, but good for him, I guess. 3 words to describe him are frenetic, warm, and creative. He wants to be a part of Survivor because it's been a dream and a source of a motivation for the last decade of his life. He doesn't really think his life makes as much sense if it didn't include ultimately playing, so he's ready to scratch that itch and transition his role from from superfan to player. A life experience has prepared him for the game. He says that the casting process itself, he was a finalist last cycle, and it was a really emotional challenge to get so close and not know if he would ever get another shot. But he made the best decision possible. He gave himself back to life and lived his fullest, most substantial year so far. And he thrived in education and career. He got to know himself in deeper ways and fell in love with his amazing girlfriend, Shannon. So, that's something that he has to talk about. So previous player he identifies with and who he thinks he's going to play the most like. He identifies the most with Yule for being a triple threat, Goliath, and truly inspirational Asian representation. Now, if you know me, I don't know who that is. I've only seen Survivors 41 through 46. So any players that aren't from those seasons, I don't have much to say about. But again, he wants to play like Yule. This one I do know. Omar, even though Omar didn't win, he thinks he demonstrated the optimal, most respectable blueprint for a good new era game, prioritizing social capital, information, and options in a way that sustains a manageable threat level. So that's who he identifies the most with. In an alliance partner, he wants someone who's not willing to win at all costs, that is susceptible to true loyalty. He needs this person to want to take him to the end, even if they're not sure they can beat him. This either can be some moral compass they bring in the game, or because they just love him that much, which I really like that answer. Favorite hobbies, he says he's a minesweeper, road trips, even though he can't drive, and being a K-pop stan. Pet peeves, he doesn't like language perceptives, people walking directly behind him and cherry-pick statistics. Accomplishment he's most proud of is leaving his data analysis job in big tech to get his master's in a field of AI that he's very passionate about. During his studies, he got a research paper as a first author and an award for outstanding achievement in computational linguistics. So he's very proud of that. Again, AI, not really a fan of, unless it's Ainsley. We like Ainsley, but we don't like AI in general. Something we would never know from looking at him. He comes across as very carefree. Underneath, it's an extremely intense, constant, and often excessive amount of hyperactive thinking. He's able to overthink how to tie his own shoes. And in the game, he says he's going to focus a lot of his energy towards taking deep breaths and trusting his own instincts. His biggest inspiration is his maternal grandfather for serving in the war, for being one of the few Democrats on either side of his family. Love that. And then Soul Survivor, because he's two good players smushed into one, two great powers with his ability to charm and disarm people from all walks of life. He wants to crunch numbers in a pinch, and he's confident that he's always going to find the right vote split plurality option. He can use his social bonds to execute on it. So this is what I'll say. This guy definitely knows what he's talking about. I definitely do feel like he's going into the game having been a fan. He kind of talks about how, he wants to play as someone who is this triple threat of sorts, and, someone who has this capability socially and, is really good with divulging information. And I feel like he's going to do a really good job with that. He definitely seems very personable in that way. And he seems like somebody that I think, the tribe will easily find themselves latching onto. I can see him being somebody that he maybe isn't running his tribe, but he's at least in a good enough position to where he's able to, get past the pre-merge. The merge, honestly, not really sure where he goes from that point forward, but I do think he definitely has the right kind of skill set going into this game. He also talks about how he's someone that, is very disarming, and he's very able to kind of charm people in any way. And I feel like that's perfect for a pre-merge. Really, the skills you need to get past the pre-merge is doing what you can to just be this very lovable and energetic presence that's able to really just kind of adapt to any situation. And I feel like he does have the tools for that. So overall, I feel pretty good about Andy for the most part. I think he definitely does have quite a bit of potential. I don't really have much to say other than, I hope he does really well. I think that there is a very good chance he does end up getting at least past the pre-merge. I don't know where he goes from there, but I think he is at least getting past the pre-merge, and we'll see what happens after that. But overall, hoping the best for Andy. I think, like I said, he has a lot of potential And from there, we will really just have to see where he ends up going. So he's not someone that like I'm immediately like super high on. I think he's going to do amazing, but I do think he has quite a bit of potential for sure. So that's really my thoughts on Andy. So that's that one. So the next person we're going to be talking about also on the Gata tribe is where is she? Anika. We're going to be talking about Anika Dhar. So let's just go ahead and get into Anika. There she is. All right, she's 26. She is from Santa Rosa, California. She currently resides in LA, California, and she's a marketing manager. She's exuberant, curious, and calculated. She wants to be part of Survivor because it's an instinctual need of hers. From the very first episode, she kind of Googled how to apply to get on Survivor. She apparently has been watching since season 28, and she believes that Survivor is the most epic game to exist. It challenges the human body both mentally and physically. So she really wants that challenge within her life. A life experience that's prepared her for the game is that her whole life has kind of been made up of moments that prepared her. One very impactful experience is when she unexpectedly lost her family home and all important mementos saved to the tubs. And you know, the most important thing is her family. Thankfully, they got out alive. But during this time, there was apparently no place to call home. And therefore, mentally, that's kind of prepared her to live on the island. So she has a lot of experience with kind of just living on her own and having to just kind of focus on the bare essentials. So previous players she identifies with, she talks, of course, about Sandra, which, of course, I know Sandra. I watch The Traitors. I know who Sandra Diaz-Twine is. I might not have seen all the seasons, but I know who Sandra is. I know who Parvati is. I know who, you know, Sarah Lacina is. She talks about someone who's socially aligned with most players, someone who people will trust, get advantages in the game. So, you know, all the things that you really do need. Someone who's able to deflect being a threat. In an alliance partner, she values gut feelings and intuition. She's going to value someone who's interested in cooperating to pull information together, someone who's considerate to share information with her, even if they have to vote differently, someone who she can trust and respect. So favorite hobbies, she likes dancing, hip hop, ceramics, throwing on the wheel, cooking for the people she loves, gardening, and all that stuff. Pet peeves are when people leave the water running. She doesn't like people that are spatially aware in crowded spaces and slow drivers in the left lane. Accomplishment she's most proud of, she says, is getting cast on Survivor. It's not an easy feat. That's the thing she's most proud of happening. More applicants, any job she's gotten. That's a small community in the grand scheme of things. So she's very honored for that. Something we would never know from looking at her is that she loves to sing anytime. She's also apparently very tone deaf, though, but it doesn't stop her from being the first to volunteer at karaoke. Her biggest inspiration is her mom, and she's going to be the sole survivor because she's an all-around player. She's an extrovert who can also listen and remember very well. She can get people to open up about themselves comfortably, and strategically, she's going to make small moves such as keeping camp clean, looking natural when she puts in the work, and make big moves. She won't boast about them. She's flexible, can adapt to various scenarios in life, and she's a natural problem solver in that way. She says that she's also a challenge beast, but she loves a good puzzle. I don't know if she loves puzzles as much as Tucker, but she does love a good puzzle, apparently. She's able to manipulate and deceive with a smile on her face. However, overall, most importantly, is she believes in her tuition. She's going to outwit, outplay, and outlast. And yeah, I mean, I feel really good about Anika's chances within the game. I think that really everything she says is kind of the perfect, I think, blueprint for like what a Survivor player should be. She talks about how strategically she's going to be really good. Socially, she's someone who can kind of connect with everybody. She's an actual extrovert in that way, but she also seems to be very physically capable. So, and also the fact that, like I said, she's been through this kind of thing before. She has that life experience. I just feel like Anika is someone who everyone's really going to find themselves vibing with. She's going to end up, you know, everyone's going to want to include her in things. I just feel like she is going to do really well within this game. I feel really good about her. The fact that she said her most exciting thing is that she's been cast on Survivor, that really makes me feel like she's just going to bring it here. Like, she's going to make sure that she plays the hardest that she possibly can, and that this really is that like life-changing type experience that she wants it to be. So yeah, I feel really good about Anika so far. Out of the people we talked about, even though we talked about two people, she's probably the person that I feel the most confident about within Gata. And I feel like she most likely is going to be one of the people that is like insulated the best. I don't know, like I said, if she's going to remain insulated the best, but I do feel really good about her from what I've read here. So yeah, that really is Anika. Definitely someone I feel pretty high on so far, and I feel like is going to do really well. I also forgot to mention, I have not read these bios prior to this video. So what I'm reading here, this is the first time I'm judging them. So it really is more like a first impressions thing. But yeah, like I said, I really like what we're getting from Anika here. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the next person who this cast has. Oh, uh-oh. Uh-oh. I am watching my video somewhere. I need to figure out where it is. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, we're gonna shut that off because that's super distracting. Sorry about that. I didn't know that was going to happen. I guess I had the stream open at one point and it just ended up playing. But either way, we're going to continue. So there's two people here that are kind of familiar faces to a lot of people. I'm not familiar with this next person, but I've heard a lot of people are familiar with this next person. And that is John Lovett. He is 42 years old. He is from Long Island, New York. He currently resides in Los Angeles, California. And immediately I can see why people would know him because he actually is a podcast host of his own. 3 words to describe him are, he says he has opinions for days. So I kind of love that. He doesn't really use action. He just says he has opinions and he's very adamant about those opinions. Why he wants to be a part of Survivor is that it's all about deprivation and endurance and puzzles and challenges, but at its root, it's an experiment in democracy. It ends in a vote. The players decide what it means to earn that vote, and he wants to be part of that experiment. A life experience to prepare him from the game is getting cut from the baseball team at 13 years old, on his way to the game, as well as having a career in politics. Who he identifies the most with is Penner with an Aubrey Moon and Cochran. Again, I don't know who these people are, so I really can't say anything. But again, those are his inspirations. He values consistency, thoughtfulness, and a vibe that says they won't panic or stab him in the back. That's what he values in an alliance partner. He also loves video games, crossword puzzles, hiking, and seeing movies in the theater while they still exist. Fuck yes, we love a good cinephile, but we also love a cinephile that values the theatrical experience. That alone is like enough of a reason for me to get excited for this guy. Now, a lot of the time when you have people on these shows that are big movie fans, they disappoint me, but I'm going to keep an open mind that I'm going to stay hopeful that John's going to be the one that doesn't do that. But anyway, pet peeves, he says there's too many to count. Phones at stoplights, people who cut a line and they act confused. He's constantly annoyed. He says he's like a gay Larry David. So yeah, he's got a lot of things that seem to bother him. Accomplishment he's most proud of is co-founding Vote Save America, which lets people sign up to volunteer, donate, and register voters, which is very important to do at this time of year. Please vote if you haven't, of course. He says they've helped raise tens of millions of dollars and signed up hundreds and thousands to volunteer. Something we'd never know from looking in is that astronaut Buzz Aldrin almost punched him in the face. Biggest inspiration is that he loves his family and friends. He's inspired and motivated by the people he hates. And why he's going to be the sole survivor is because he's always felt like an outsider. In part, that's because he was gay, but also that it was never his largest problem. Social graces, fitting in, making friends, it's never come natural to him, but he had to work at it. And in that way, he's been training for Survivor his whole life. And yeah, I mean, here's my thoughts about John. I think that definitely he's going to be one of the most entertaining people on this season. I feel like his confessionals are going to be a ton of fun to watch. Every time they show a promo for Survivor 47, like while I'm watching a Big Brother episode, it's almost always on John. And I feel like that's got to count for something. Like there's a reason that they are consistently showing him in all the promos. And I think it's because it's probably because they think he's one of the like big standout characters of the season. So I think regardless, he's going to be a lot of fun to watch in that regard. I think that he's going to bond really well with his tribe. I do worry, though, that he's going to be one of those people that comes in and he thinks he knows what he's getting himself into, and then he really just doesn't, and that he isn't able to fully adapt in the way that he thinks he can. And I think when you look at the makeup of his tribe right now, I mean, Anika is someone I can see him bonding well with. Him and Andy, I think, could maybe be good. But right now, I just don't really know where he fits into his tribe. So either this is a guy that goes in and like really surprises me, or he is somebody that like has a lot of potential, but just isn't able to live up to it. Maybe isn't able to see the game in front of him. Something just tells me he's not going to do as well as we think. But I hope I'm wrong with that. I really do hope I'm wrong. I just feel like a lot of the time when we see people come in who are like podcasters and like big fans of the show in that way, they don't really live up to the hype. Obviously, Carson is like the rare example in 44. I just don't know how he really is going to do. So really, I think he's kind of a question mark right now. I think he has a lot of potential in the sense where, like, again, I think that he knows somewhat what he's getting himself into, but I just think I'm not entirely sure how he's going to fit into things. So right now, I think John's just kind of a question mark for me. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the next person here, who we're going to pull up real quickly. Let me find her. I hate that I'm doing it this way because it takes me forever to find the tab. Oh, okay. This is Rachel LaMont is the next person we're talking about. She is 34 years old. She's from Dexter, Michigan, currently resides in Southfield, Michigan, and she's a graphic designer. 3 words to describe her are down to earth, bubbly, and determined. She discovered Survivor in 2017 when her husband Derek randomly put it on TV. She was immediately captivated by the game. She loves people. She loves pushing herself out of her comfort zone, games, and money. Life experience that prepared her for the game is that she was born in Thailand. She lived there when she was 7, but she never spoke Thai. She moved to the US and didn't really understand American culture. She was the youngest in her family by 9 years. She's always been forced to understand social dynamics to assimilate from a young age. And so she thinks that she's pretty good at it as a result. Players she identifies with, she brings up Kellen Bechtold, who I actually do know, not from Survivor, from something else that we don't talk about, but I do know Kellen from that. Her Midwest, nice ability to trust her gut. She also wants to play like Omar. He played a very incredible social strategic game where everyone believed he belonged with them and trusted him, which, yeah, that is very much the game that Omar played, and that's why Marianne had to blindside him when she did. Value in an alliance partner is someone that will not be intimidated by her sort of rapid fire way of thinking. She ideally someone that takes her word vomit and parses it back and can balance in her overactive brain. Favorite hobbies are pottery, traveling, golf, and yoga. So she loves doing all of those things. Pet peeves are hot oil splattering her while cooking, balloons popping, especially intentionally. Accomplishment she's most proud of is honestly just proud of the life that her and her husband have built together. She has a lot of incredible friends and family, a home with her dog Eva and cat Maybe. And something we would never know is that she can house the majority of Costco watermelon in a single sitting. Her biggest inspiration is that it's generally that every single person in her friends and family are incredible. They give her a nugget of something special that inspires her to live her life authentically and to the fullest. And then she thinks that she's going to be the sole survivor because she thinks she's good at reading people's motivations and desires, which you need in order to pander to a jury. She makes fast friends, tends to gain people's trust quickly, and she's not too weak, she's not too physical, but she's not the smartest in the room. She's socially well off, but never the leader or figurehead, and she'll ride that middle to victory. And yeah, I mean, I feel really good about her just from these answers. I think everything she says about especially wanting to play the middle, that is such a crucial thing in Survivor, especially when you're on a tribe where, there's like a clear alliance of sorts and you're somebody, and, there's like 2 people that are bonding and then there's like 2 more people that are bonding. Often in a tribe of 5, this tends to happen where there's like 2 duos of sorts. And then you have someone who's like kind of squarely in the middle. And I feel like Rachel is going to be that person, or like maybe, for example, like, Anika and John are in an alliance, and then Andy's kind of off with somebody else, and then Rachel's kind of firmly good with both sides. And I feel like that's kind of the game that Rachel's going to play. And I feel like if she's able to do that, that works out really well for her. I think she can very much position herself in that way. She also just seems like really adaptable. Like from the answer that she gave, I really do feel like adaptability is going to be one of her strengths, and I feel like she's going to go very far as a result. And I also just feel like she's going to get far. Like I can't see her going, at least right now, reading her answers, I don't see her as someone who ends up going pre-jury on her tribe. I think that she does, or pre-merge on her tribe. I keep saying pre-jury. I'm used to Big Brother, okay? Pre-merge on her tribe. She's not going to get pre-merge. I think she is at least going to make it to the merge, and then from there, we'll really see where she ends up going. But yeah, ultimately, I think Rachel just has a lot of potential here. I really liked her answer, especially when she talked about how she kind of had to study American culture and that she is like really good at understanding like human nature and things like that. I mean, I think that she just has a lot of potential. I like that she also doesn't try to hype herself up too much. She kind of sees herself as someone who's not always the smartest in the room. And I think if she's able to do that, she can kind of use that as a strategy of sorts, where it's like she feels, you know, there's always that question of like, where are you like on in the car? Are you in the passenger seat? Are you in the, you know, are you at the end? She can kind of say she's like firmly in the middle, and she can kind of play the game that way. So yeah, I mean, I feel really good about Rachel. I really like her answers here. I really like her energy. And I just feel like out of the people on her tribe right now, she's probably the person I honestly do feel the best about. Her or Anika for sure. I think both gave some really strong answers. So yeah, overall, I have a lot of potential. I think Rachel just has a lot of potential, and I have a lot of high hopes for her. So that's really my thoughts on Rachel. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next person here. Again, I have not been exposed to any of these people prior to this video. And the next person we have is Sam Phalen. So he is 24 years old, and he is from Schaumburg, Illinois. He currently resides in Nashville, Tennessee. He is a sports reporter, and he is passionate, stubborn, and ambitious. He wants to play Survivor because the childhood dream. He loved both mental and physical competitions. It's the greatest game that ever created. He needs to prove what he has, he needs to prove he has what it takes to win. I promise you I can read. Maybe just sometimes I can't. But he also wants the 1 million. Life experience that we feel is preparing from the game is that his daily life his daily work life has built him for this game. Working in professional sports, it forces him to excel at ego stroking, asking the right questions, building relationships, and capitalizing on information. A previous player is going to identify the most with. He talks about Michelle Fitzgerald. So much more to her than just his appearance, and played the game twice with Grift. Tough exterior with an emotional core. He also brings up Devin Pinto, who built relationships, gave up control early, didn't have to be the alpha, and made a late run. But predictably, he wants to know how his allies think, what they value. And so that's who he hopes to play like. When it comes to an ally, he wants to know how his allies think, what they value, and what they need from him. He won't deal with erratic people, but he'd also love someone that presents more strategic than him to hide his own wits. Favorite hobbies is that he loves to play trivia, critique movies. Okay, another movie fan. We love that. And working out. Pet peeves is when someone leaves the door open too long, entering the sauna and wastes the heat. Someone use an accent to say a foreign word correctly when they're not from there, and then overly confident sports fans. Accomplishment he's most proud of is landing a full-time job as an NFL beat reporter at 22 years old. Something that we would never know from looking at him is that he did a lot of drama, musical theater, and slam poetry growing up. Okay. He loves the arts. He's way smarter than he looks. Biggest inspiration and why is his fiance. She's his best friend. He's inspired by her patience, loving nature, loyalty, and the joy she carries with her every day. Soul survivor. He's going to be the soul survivor because he can get with any group of people. He's a physical, strategic, and social force that will never be perceived as the strongest, smartest, or loudest person in the room. So he's very gritty. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. On one hand, I think Sam gives me that feel of a guy that is going to do really well in challenges, and therefore he's going to be on a tribe that wins a lot because he's good at physical challenges, and as a result, that's going to keep him around. He does have a lot of different interests, which is good. The one answer he did say that I really did like is that he wants to pair up with somebody who's more strategic, so he's not the one in the driver's seat, and he's kind of the one that is not as seen as much of a threat. I do think that is really good to do on Survivor, and I do think it is good to kind of get yourself attached to somebody that maybe is seen as like the one kind of driving things. But the problem is a lot of the time when you do that, especially in the pre-merge, it ends up being at the mercy of you because this person is in such a good position. They have like one or two other allies that, you know, are stronger, and you end up getting cut. So I honestly don't really know how Sam's going to do right now out of the people on his tribe. He's probably the person I feel the least good with. I just think that he kind of has that feel of somebody who's going to end up coming short. Like I said, I think physical wise, like let's say he's a really good physical competitor, then his tribe's going to be fine because they're going to win challenges and they'll end up doing really well. But you got to have more than challenges in you. And aside from what he said about wanting to kind of hide his strategic ability, I just didn't really get a sense of the kind of game that he is really going to play. So yeah, I don't really know how to feel about Sam, to be honest with you. There's a part of me that hopes he does well. There's a part of me that isn't really sure how he's going to do, but I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping that Sam plays a game where he is more than what he lets on, and that he really ends up surprising me, and maybe he ends up doing really well on his tribe. But right now, out of the people we've read, I mean, I think everybody just seems so much more interesting, so much more calculated, and he just feels like he's going to be the one to come up short. Like I said, if he's good at physical comps, then great. But right now, I think if they were to go to tribal, he might find himself ending up to be the Jelinski. So we'll have to see. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with Sam right now. So we're going to go ahead and move on to the last person in the Gata tribe. We're still on the first tribe. I know. We're getting there. We're getting there. But the last person on the Gata tribe, is it going to work? Okay. Sierra Wright. Yes, that's the next person we're talking about. She is 27 years old. She's from Wilmington, Delaware, and she currently resides in Phoenixville, Pennsylvania. She's a nurse, and she described herself as ambitious, intuitive, and a hoot. Why she wants to be part of Survivor is because she was born for the game. Her social and physical abilities are about to thrive. Survivor was a big part of her upbringing, spending many nights with her family, placing bets on winners. And aside from that, she loves a good challenge. And when she applied 5 years back, people laughed at her. She said that she could never, but here now she is. And I like that she applies multiple times. We always say this, and I'll get to that in a little bit, but I like that she's done that. She's sick of the monthly payments towards her student debt, so she really hopes that the money helps her towards that. A life experience she feels has prepared her for the game is working in the service industry for more than 12 years. Really kind of armed her with the skills she needed to effectively communicate. She says that things can always change, and she is very good at adapting. It helps her bring her back to the island, no matter how difficult of a customer. If she wants to make money, she has to bounce back quickly, so that's kind of her Survivor mentality. Previous player that she identifies with the most is Steph LaGrossa. She's a blast and dominated Palau, becoming such an inspiration to young girls all over the world. She's an example of someone who's able to achieve anything with resilience, perseverance, and toughness. And so she has a lot in common in that way, but her love for sports and a good competition takes the cake. She says JT and Taka teens, as well as Tony and D. In an alliance partner, she values laughter and a good time. She's stranded on an island because they're stranded on an island stripped of anything. So they better make the most of it. Show her that she's genuine and trustworthy, and she'll dominate out here together. Favorite hobbies are pickleball, crabbing on the boat, and her newfound love for rock climbing. She's a big beer pong girl, apparently. She loves the beers, seltzer, and she loves just the game in general. Pet peeves are clapping when the plane lands, slow walkers, or saying no offense or I'm kidding when you're not kidding. Accomplishment she's most proud of is completing an accelerated nursing degree in 17 months and receiving her nursing license. She was never really a science person, but school just didn't come easy to her. And after sleepless nights of studying, blood, literally sweat and tears, she did it. So, I mean, that's obviously a really great accomplishment. Something that we would never know from looking at her is that she can apparently say the alphabet backwards. She can touch her touch her tongue to her nose, and an Irish step dancer for 10 years. Biggest inspiration is she can't just pick one, but she does say both her parents. And then she's going to be the sole survivor because if there's one thing we know about her, it's that she works her ass off at everything she does. There's no such thing as 100% in her book, always 150% or nothing. She plans to follow suit here, and she thinks that she's a pretty good time. Her friends tell her their laughter is contagious, and she hopes her tribe feels the same. She practiced the last year, so she expects those 4 a.m. gym wake-up calls to shine through in challenges. And yeah, I mean, I feel really good about Sierra overall. I think that she has a lot of potential. I mean, right off the bat, the thing I really like about her is that, one, I like that she's applied to the show multiple times. I think a lot of the time people do apply when they're too young and they aren't really able to play the game to the best of their ability just because they're not quite ready yet. And I like that she was recognizing that, like, maybe I just need to apply again, and now she's here. I always like getting to see that. But I also really think that she is somebody that is going to thrive really well. I like what she said about just connecting with people and being able to trust somebody. It kind of reminds me of Kenzie last season in a way where it's like, I don't really care about all these other strategic things. Like, yes, those are important, but I really just want to make friends. I want to make connections. I want to have these long-lasting bonds with people. And I think that's very important to do in Survivor, especially, like I said, in a game that is ever changing in that way. I think it's very good to do that. And I think that that's something that she's very aware that she needs to do. She also is a big physical threat, it seems. And I think that's something that people are really going to be surprised about. I think I can see her doing really well in challenges. And I think that she's going to be somebody that a lot of people just don't recognize is going to be as big of a threat as she really is. And I think that's going to do her really well. I just feel like she's going to be like really personable. She's going to be able to connect with people on this tribe. And I just think she's going to be fine. I don't see her going that early. She does kind of remind me of she has that archetype of, like, we see preseason, there's this woman who we think is going to do really well, and then they end up going early. I think of like Sarah in Survivor 41, or I think of like Maddie in Survivor 44. Those are two people offhand that, like, I never would have thought went when they did. So that could happen to Sierra, but I just don't see it right now. I think Sam is the person. I think that Sam or John, I would say, is probably the person that I feel has the least chance of really doing that well on this tribe. And I think Sierra is going to be well positioned no matter what. I think she's going to get along with everybody. And I think overall, she's someone that a lot of people just aren't going to be able to recognize is this big threat. They're all going to feel really good with Sierra because she's just really personable and fun, but they're not going to realize that she also is this very dangerous strategic player. And I think that's really going to end up working out for her. So yeah, I feel really good about Sierra. When it comes to the Gata tribe overall, right now, like I said, I think that Anika and Rachel are the people I probably feel the best with, but I would definitely throw Sierra in there. And then Andy, I think, is mostly going to do well. John and Sam are the ones I'm not quite as sure about. I don't really know how they're going to fit in, but for the most part, I think Gata looks like it's going to be a pretty stacked tribe, and I'm hoping the best for them. So that is Gata. Now let's go ahead and move on to Lavo and this next person I'm so excited to talk about. Like I said, I don't know really anybody on this cast, minus one person here who I think immediately you're going to know who I'm talking about. And that is Aysha, and that, of course, is Aysha Welch. And she is 32 years old. She is from DeSoto, Texas. She currently resides in Houston, Texas, and she's an IT consultant. She's an words to describe herself as overachiever, unique, and joyful. Why she wants to be part of Survivor is that she's watched since she was 12. Her mom started watching season 1. She put it on, and she thought that Survivor was too hard, but she's reached the point of her life where she's accomplished a lot personally, and she's ready for her next biggest challenge. Not only is this her dream, but it's also her family's. Life experience she feels has prepared her for the game is that in 2017, Hurricane Harvey hit Houston, Texas. Her apartment got above 1 foot of water, ruining so many of her belongings and furniture, and her dad had to drive down and walk through waist-deep water at night to go get him. The water had snakes and all kinds of creatures, so it kind of showed her that she can do anything she sets her mind to. Previous player she identifies with is Suri because of her ability to use her personality to connect with so many different kinds of people. She wants to use that ability to form relationships to make sure people generally like her without thinking that it's strategy. So she wants to play a social game like Suri, but with the physicality of Natalie Anderson. She's lost about 10 pounds of fat and gained 5 pounds of muscle in preparation for Survivor, so really good for her. In an alliance partner, she just wants blind loyalty. She wants them to be loyal to her without realizing that she's a threat to win. Too many people have been blindsided by their allies. She wants to be an ally that is loyal to even consider betrayal. Favorite hobbies is going to escape rooms, playing basketball, long walks for her dogs, watching TV. She does count as a hobby. I would also consider that a hobby, for the record. Working out, drinking cider at a cidery or wine at a winery. Pet peeves are people who are loud in quiet places, people who chew to the point where you can identify what part of the meal they're on, people who don't listen, people who oppose the idea, and dogs that can be someone's children. Accomplishment she is the most proud of is that she bought her first house all on her own at 29. She always thought that she'd wait until she was married for that type of investment, but she had the means and she went for it. So she just had to make sure that she had enough space for her dogs to run around. Something we've never done from looking at her is that she's very competitive. If the objective is to win, her goal is to win. If it's trivia or on Facebook Messenger with her 7-year-old goddaughter, even broke up with an ex because she beat him 1v1 in basketball and he threw a temper tantrum. Biggest inspiration is her mom. And then Soul Survivor, she's going to be a Soul Survivor because she's going to use her social game to push her through while unveiling her competitiveness when it matters most. Then at FTC, she wants to be able to clearly articulate her strategy to get there. And look, I'm going to get the elephant in the room right away. Yes, this is Aysha from, of course, RHAP, which, you know, Rob is a podcast. I'm a pretty avid watcher of that, as I'm sure many of you are. And with that said, I think it's really cool to get to see her on there, considering that this is somebody that does this stuff quite regularly. She's talked about Survivor. She's talked about Big Brother. She has that experience analyzing and dissecting these players and actually putting her, you know, getting to, participate in that environment and kind of get to do it herself, I think is really cool to see. Getting to see somebody that has done this for so long get to live out her dreams in that way. That's always really amazing. And I do feel like Aysha has that skill set. I think that she does have a lot of potential overall. I like what she says about, you know, her wanting this blind loyalty in somebody. They're not really going to know if she's doing the things that she's doing. I think that's something that is very important to do in Survivor. You want to make that person feel comfortable. You want to make them feel like they're your friend and that you never betray them. But in reality, you're the one that is backstabbing them. You're the one that is, you know, deterring their game. They can't figure out why their game is turning out the way that it is, and it's because of you, but they don't realize it because you're just playing that good of a game. I think that's really good. I really like what she has to say about how she's kind of ready to just kind of throw herself into any situation. She knows how to think on her feet because of this whole, you know, flood that she went through and things like that. I just think, and also she seems like a really big physical threat. She said that she's good at like basketball. She has that kind of skill set. So yeah, I feel really good about Aysha. I don't see a world where she doesn't at least get to the merge. I just feel like she has that personality. She has that energy. She has that sort of fire under her. And I just think she's going to do so well in this game. I think that she really just needs to connect with somebody. And I think that she's going to do really well as a result. So I think she has a ton of potential. I would say right now, she's probably one of the people that I think is probably I'm not going to say a front runner, of course, you know, considering that I've seen her on podcasting, because I could easily say, oh yeah, Aysha's going to win. But I do think that she has it in her. I think that she definitely could get very far. And right now, I think she has some of the best answers, of the people we've talked about. She's definitely one of those people that like, she has really great answers. She is, she understands the game of Survivor really well. She knows what she has to do. She has a clear strategy. I feel like all of that, sums up Aysha very well. And I just think that she has so much potential. So yeah, I feel really good about her. And I think on this tribe, there's just a lot of potential for her. So that is Aysha. I'm going to go ahead and just take a sip of water here because I've been talking for 43 minutes now. So let's just go ahead and. Okay. Also, we love the Doom Part 2 water bottle. Fantastic. Anyway, I just had to reference that because it's pretty cool stuff. Doom Part 2, best film of the year. But we're not here to talk about Doom Part 2. We're here to continue to talk about Survivor. So let's just go ahead and move on to the next person here. Where the fuck is this person? Okay. So, next person on Lavo is Genevieve Mulsack. She is 33 years old. She's from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and she currently resides also in Winnipeg, Manitoba. Okay, so she's one of the Canadians of the season. She's a corporate lawyer. She's energetic, friendly, and organized. She wants to be part of Survivor because she began watching the show when she was a preteen, and even then she had an unearned sense of confidence like she could do it. And as she got older, she never lost that belief. So she's here to test it out and challenge herself and prove herself. And the life experience that prepared her for the game is that her extended family was always really close. She grew up sitting around a big table, conversing with kids and adults of all ages and personalities. Being able to appreciate and connect with people of all backgrounds and ages. Previous players she identifies the most with is a combo of Eliza, Chrissy, and Lindsay. She identifies with strategic women who are direct. She thinks saying Lindsay to people in the game will not raise any red flags. I would agree because that's a pretty recent player. She plans to say she admires her because of her success in challenges, but will omit any references to her amazing social game. In an alliance partner, predictability for obvious reasons, and a strong social game that is attractive to other players within the group. She wants her partner to deliver her intel that she otherwise wouldn't be able to get. Favorite hobbies, she brings up video games as well as spending time with friends or family. She loves to try to cook any recipe she sees on Instagram that involves a cheese pull. Pet peeves are airports or the combo of airports and people. People will line up at the gate way too early if the plane will leave them without them if they don't storm the boarding gate. People who hog the armrest or take their shoes off when they put their feet up. So yeah, don't go on a plane with Genevieve. It doesn't seem like it's going to go very well. But accomplishment she's most proud of is getting on Survivor because of her path to get there. She first applied the very night that Canadians could, so that's 5 or 6 years ago. She's applied every year since then and got progressively closer each time, but last year she got rejected when her hopes were up, but she kept trying, and it's the longest she's failed at something repeatedly, but kept trying, and now here she is. Something that we would never know from looking at her is that she wears her heart on her sleeve, thoughts on her face, and she also talks a lot. Biggest inspiration is a tie between her mom and dad. They are distinctly different in their strengths and approaches to life, but both in very compassionate, generous, evolving ways. And why she's going to be the sole survivor is that she connects easily with others. She will not hate living with her. She's objective, focusing out here. Nothing, no bond, deal, fear, relationship will stop her from doing what she thinks needs to be done to further her game. She also says she has a killer instinct. And okay, so let's talk about the things I like about Genevieve. I like the fact that right off the bat, she does seem to be a really good social player. I like that about her. I like that she's someone that seems like she's very determined. She's kind of ready to face any situation head on, and it doesn't really seem like there's a lot that is going to, stifle her in any way. Like she's kind of just ready for whatever challenge presents, and I think that is really good. I like the determination within her. What I'm concerned about is what she talks about when it comes to allies. I don't like that she says that she wants the ally to bring the information to her, because I feel like when you are relying on somebody to do that, a lot of that is they are getting that information for you. And since they knew that information before you, if you are in like the final 3, they are the ones that claim that move. Now, obviously, you can choose what you do with that information, but I think wanting an ally just for that reason, I don't think that's really that great. I also don't like when they say predictability, that you want that in an alliance partner. Obviously, yes, you want that alliance partner to, be straight up with you and things like that. But I feel like Asia's answer of, I want to make sure that what I say to an alliance partner they believe is much more effective than I want an alliance partner to present information for me. Because again, how do you know that information is actually true? I just think that is something that might be an issue for her. I think she's someone who she's going to partner up with somebody. Maybe it's Asia, maybe it's not. But she's going to partner up with somebody. They're going to, become a duo, and she's just going to blindly trust them. And as a result, it's going to make it so because they have that information, she's just going to believe it, and she's not really going to try, and it's going to end up affecting her game as a result. So yeah, I honestly do kind of see her coming up short. I see her right now, if you had to ask me, I see her going early merge is probably where I see, or she's going to be in like the between phase where she doesn't make, she gets past the pre-merge, but she doesn't make it past the mergatory. I could also see her going there. I just feel like that's kind of where she's going to end up going. She's going to be in a place where like she's good for a bit, and then something's going to end up happening where like she receives information, whether it's like someone's targeting her or someone's after her, and she's just going to end up losing track of the game. So right now, that's kind of where I see Genevieve going. Again, I'd love to be wrong. I would love to be wrong that she actually does do really well and she has a little bit more strategic acumen within her. But like I said, right now, she comes across as somebody who is kind of going in the game willingly, asking to work with somebody that's going to manipulate her and lie to her. And she is not going to realize they're doing that because that's what she wants in an alliance partner. And I think that is going to hurt her. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Genevieve. I think that she does have potential, but I really don't know how she's going to turn out overall. So that's kind of my thoughts on that, on her. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next person here. And I just lost track of that. Oh, there it is. I almost lost track of the bookmark that I had. All right. So we're going to move on to our next person whenever it comes up here. There we go. All right. So the next person we have here is Kishan. Kishan is 28 years old, from Fullerton, California. Currently resides in San Francisco, California. He is an ER doctor, and 3 words to describe him are nurturing, composed, and adorable. He wants to be part of Survivor because he's been playing form of Survivor for as long as he can remember, whether it was knowing who to trust as a closeted gay Indian American and waiting for the right moment to share his secret, to experiencing the hustle as a child of immigrant parents raised in a family-owned liquor store. He thinks that Survivor is the most chaotic, beautiful, complex reflection of each individual identity. And he wants to show that every story deserves to be shared and heard, and it's also just a lot of fun. An experience is preparing for the game is that as an ER doctor, going from caring for someone with cardiac arrest to somebody with a stubbed toe, experiencing emotional whiplash, and staying composed, calm, and collected and in control is critical. It is equally important to navigating the complex, messy, I don't know why I'm reading this whole thing, but yeah, that's basically his answer there. Person he identifies the most with is Spencer, a geeky nerd who had an authentic yet devious charisma while scheming under the radar until it's too late gameplay. Who he's going to value an alliance partner is someone he can disagree with him but can still work with. He appreciates and trusts folks who aren't afraid to share their opinions, but who can understand and counter perspectives and are open to have open conversations, weighing various points. Someone who is level-headed and understand the nuances to emotional intelligence. Favorite hobbies are traveling and eating all the pastries and desserts of the world, binge watching Netflix, and religiously playing Wordle and the other New York Times games with his partner. He doesn't like slow walkers, loud chewers, and thinking salt and pepper are seasoning. Accomplishment he's most proud of is becoming an ER doctor. And then something we would never know is that despite being a usually well-planned, cautious, and articulate person, he randomly will swing the pendulum too far and be super spontaneous. He did a last-minute solo trip to Guatemala to hike a volcano. He went skydiving and joined a competitive dance team, all in college, all on spontaneity. His biggest inspiration is his parents, and he's going to be the sole survivor because he has grit. He's nurtured to respect true hard work. He's never going to give up, living a life of fear and being ostracized for being gay. He has an intuition on who to trust and who to share with. He thrives in chaos and remains in control of any situation in the emergency departments. And yeah, I mean, I think I'm of two minds about this guy. On one hand, I think that him coming in as like the nerdy archetype who, you know, is someone who usually gets along with everyone, is able to forge some sort of bond. I think all that is really good. We've seen that a lot in like recent Survivor seasons where you have somebody who is this really like clear strategic mind, but he's able to forge bonds with everybody. I think that Kishan has that within him. What I'm concerned about the most, honestly, is what he talks about with being a bit too spontaneous. I think that in a vacuum, spontaneity is something that is important within Survivor, but it's also a game that requires a lot of thinking. And I think if he makes decisions on a whim, a lot of the time that doesn't really end up working out for you. And I do think that it could really end up costing him. He makes a decision that at first he just thinks is a good idea, and then, you know, and then he ends up making it and it destroys his game. I wouldn't be surprised, because he did talk about how that is something that he sometimes does struggle with. He says that he is this very like articulate person who's like very he for the most part is someone who like thinks through a lot of things, and all that's really great. I'm just concerned that that more spontaneous side, that is what's going to end up seeping through, and it's going to end up destroying his game. So yeah, I mean, I think, again, on paper, like the type of player that he is has tended to do very well in recent seasons. The type that he's describing himself as has tended to do very well. Again, I worry about the fact that he has this sort of spontaneous nature. How is that going to affect him? Is it going to affect him at all? Or is that something that maybe he has a bit more under control than he's saying? You know, maybe this is something where because he's done it before, he knows how to have a handle on it and it's not going to be an issue. And if that is the case, that's great. And he's very self-aware, but there's also that possibility that it could be a little bit more frequent than he is ultimately saying. And I feel like, especially when you get into a game like Survivor, that more paranoid side, if you have it, especially, it usually tends to take over. And I just worry that that's what's going to happen with Kishan, is that he's somebody who gets into his head. He starts making a bunch of, you know, careless, thoughtless decisions, and it ends up putting him in a really bad spot. So that's kind of how I feel right now. I hope he does well, but there's definitely some things he said that have me a little nervous for sure. So those are really my thoughts on Kishan. We move on to our next person here. Where is the... It takes me forever to pull up the thing. This would have been so much easier if I put them all in just like one thing. Even though I did put them all in one thing, it probably would be easier for me to do it that way. But anyway, this is Rome Cooney. He is 30 years old, and he's from Corvallis, Oregon. He currently resides in Phoenix, Arizona, and he is an esports commentator. He is charismatic, entertaining, and cutthroat. He wants to play Survivor because it's the greatest game you can play in real life. So as a lifelong gamer, it's the ultimate test for him. The best chance he has to win 1 million while leaving a legacy that his future kids are going to be proud of. A life experience that's preparing for this is fully tearing his Achilles. It's the greatest pain that he can feel. That's pretty bad. But previous player he identifies with is Sean Rector and Todd Herzog. Sean gave great confessionals, was true to himself. Todd is the greatest final tribe of all time. He wants to play the game most like Ozzy. He wants to be known as one of the greatest challenge beasts of all time. We hear this every season. That's not great. But values an alliance partner is someone bad at talking publicly so he can beat them easily at final tribal. And he wants blind loyalty, which kind of similar to Aysha. Favorite hobbies is playing video games while listening to podcasts. Pet peeves is ordering food with somebody, then when he gets the food, they still want to take some of his fries or what he has. Accomplishment he's most proud of is going from commentating as a hobby for fun to joining the biggest talent agency in esports for just 2 years. Biggest inspiration is that His mom has always supported him in everything he's been through. And then he's going to be the sole survivor because he will play his idols. He will win at least 4 individual immunity challenges. He has a way with words to get people to do what he wants. And he has this anyone but me mentality. And I don't know. I honestly don't know. I think that on one hand, he's saying a lot of things that I like. I like that he's saying he has this anyone but me mentality. I like that he said he's going to play idols. I like that he said that he's somebody that, similar to Aysha, wants to find I can't talk today. He wants to find blind loyalty within people. That's what he wants in an ally. I think that's all really good and done. But I just worry he's going in a bit too confident, especially when it comes to the physical aspect. I mean, how many times in recent seasons have we heard somebody go into Survivor and say, I'm going to be the next Aussie. I'm going to win all the physical challenges. I'm going to be the one that gets all the immunities. I'm so good at that stuff. And then it doesn't end up going that way. And I feel like that's just going to be Rome's trajectory. I foresee it happening. I feel like that's going to be the case. And I also... the fact that he wants like blind loyalty in an ally and Aysha kind of wants that same thing, I worry that he's going to think that he's the one in the driver's seat and he's just kind of not. Like if you are thinking about who's the one on the tribe that thinks they're running the game but isn't, I feel like that's going to end up being Rome. I just feel like he has that. Like he thinks that he's going to play this amazing game and then he's just not. And I just feel like that's going to be the case with him. But again, there are things he said that I like. I think that he definitely does seem like he knows what he's getting himself into. He seems prepared for any challenges. And I think, physical-wise, he's going to be great. And for all I know, he could be the one, considering especially that he is this, like, esports, trainer of sorts. He has a lot of knowledge, or not trainer, but a commentary. He has a lot of knowledge with that. I do think that he could be like that big physical threat. Like we don't want to take out Rome because he's constantly winning challenges. We don't want to take out Rome because we will not win without him. This literally happened with Hunter last season where it's like, yes, Hunter positioned himself well socially, but I wouldn't really call Hunter that good of a player. I think good players know when to play their idol and Hunter didn't. But that's a whole different story. That's most of the people in 46. But I do think that Hunter, the main thing with him is that they wanted to mainly, they did not go to tribal a lot of the time because he was the one carrying that tribe. And Rome could very well be that, where he's that big physical threat. And also maybe he has a really good sense strategically. I just don't see that from him. If that really is what it is, if I'm being honest. I don't get a sense of strategy from this guy. I feel like he's going to go in and he knows what game he's going to play. And he's not going to be able to see what's in front of him. So, yeah, that's kind of how I feel. I don't know how he's going to do. I hope he's more than just the guy who wants to win a bunch of challenges because that is horrendously boring if that's what he wants to go in to do. And also, that's not all Survivor is. It's so much more than just winning challenges. And I feel like the way he looks at the game, it just seems very like cut and dry. So yeah, right now I'm just not really feeling Rome. Again, I hope that I am surprised here. I really do hope that he ends up being somebody that plays a lot better than I think he's going to. But right now, I don't really see it. If I'm honest, I don't really see Rome being somebody that just ends up going all that far within this game. So right now, that's kind of how I feel. Again, I hope I'm wrong. I hope that he ends up playing differently than I think he's going to. But right now, that's kind of just where I'm at with him. So yeah, those are my thoughts on him. But we're going to move on to the next person who I'm having a difficult time finding. So I'm going to try to filibuster as much as I can until I can find it. We love Survivor. This cast looks like it's going to be really good. I'm now losing track of the tab that I was in. Let me find it. That's not the one. Where's the StreamYard? Where is the StreamYard? I literally can't find the StreamYard. Okay, there's the StreamYard. I was losing my mind for a second there. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to our next person here. We're going to stop the screen. That's how we do this. We stop the screen, and then I move on to the next person. That's the best way to go about it. You know what? I'm gonna do it this way. This is so much easier if I just go ahead and do it this way. I can see people better. Okay, there we go. Next person is Soul. Next person. Oh my god, you can't even see it. What the fuck? Even though I just spoiled who it is. This is great. I'm doing so good with this. And this is why I don't usually do live streams on this stuff, because usually I'm doing an edited video. And okay. There is Soul. That is the next person. The next person we're talking about is Soul Solomon. He is 43 years old. He is from Del City, Oklahoma. He currently resides in Norwalk. I think that's Connecticut. His occupation is medical devices sale. He's witty, friendly, and lucky. He wants to be part of Survivor because, aside from Oklahoma football, Survivor is what he wants, what he loves the most. He has everything he's ever wanted in life now that he gets to play his favorite game. Life experience that's prepared him for the game is that both of his parents work 2 jobs and were rarely home. And so he kind of has to figure it out on his own. Previous player he wants to identify with is Gabler. I don't like that answer. I'm not really a Gabler fan. And then they're both in medical sales. They both have a strong ability to build bonds. Adam, because he's a strategist, and Tyson, because he hopes to win people over with charm. In an alliance partner, he wants them to keep their mouth shut and stick to the plan while also being adaptable if need be and need their ability to act. Favorite hobbies are poker, working out, personal growth, and eating kimchi. Pet peeves are treating people in the service industry like crap. Yes, I very much agree with that. As someone who's in the service industry, I very much agree with that answer. Accomplishment he's most proud of is his wife, which, you know, that's the best. Something we never know is that he used to live with international pop sensation Ryan Cabrera. I don't know who that is. Biggest inspiration and why is that when it all comes to an end, once he recognizes and accepts this, his second life started. And with the Soul Survivor, he has more than willpower. He has soul power. I mean, he didn't, honestly, like, it's hard to really judge him, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't really feel like he gave me that concrete of answers as to how I know how he's going to play the game. So it is admittedly, like, really hard to judge just from what we ended up getting here. I think there's some things, though, that I really did like. I like that when he talks about alliance members, he wants them to kind of just, like, you know, keep their mouth shut. I think that definitely does end up being a problem. A lot of the time, you want your ally to be somebody that isn't going around telling people everything. You want your ally to be someone who is just as calculated, maybe doesn't have as much of, you know, as good of a skill as you do, but they have similar skills, and it ends up getting you both far. If you align with the wrong person, that could end up hurting your game. So I do like that he does say that. I think that's a really good answer. I like when he talks about how he, you know, this is kind of his second life. He's very friendly, does seem very personal in that way. So I think he's going to be all right on his tribe. But right now, I couldn't even tell you how he's going to do, because he just didn't give me really much of anything to work with. But you know who also didn't give me much to work with is D in 45. Her answers, I remember preseason, I couldn't really lock anything down, and she ended up winning the whole fucking thing. So, you know, I'm not going to count him out, because it's happened before and it might happen again. So yeah, that's how I really feel about Soul. I don't really have anything similar to how he didn't really give me anything concrete. I don't have anything concrete. So I can't really tell you how he's going to do, other than I hope he does well. So yeah, I wish I had more to say. I really do. But again, he just didn't really give me much to work with. But anyway, we're going to get to the next person a little bit. I really need some water, so just give me a second and I'll be right back. All right. Sorry, sometimes you're doing this and you don't expect to go as long and you just need some water. And this is one of those times. So anyway, we have one more person from Lavo to talk about who I'm really interested in getting into. Again, really like getting to read these bios. I don't have any knowledge prior to talking about them. And so we're going to talk about this last person on this tribe, at least whenever this person comes up. And this is Teeny. This is Teeny Shikarello. They are, and one of the most notable things about Teeny is that they are the first openly non-binary contestant on Survivor, which is really cool. They are 24 years old. They reside in Manahawkin, New Jersey. Love the New Jersey representation. We love that. They are a freelance writer, and they are social, mischievous, and introspective. They want to be a part of Survivor because since they saw the show in 5th grade, they felt it was a calling throughout their life. They've kind of found ways to play the game, be it wearing a buff each day of high school, forcing their resident coworkers to vote each other out, balancing the large personalities of friends. They've spent many years fanatically entrenched in confidence. They'll perform well. They also overstayed their welcome as a pesky fan, asking players for photos. The person they identify the most with is Elaine, Evie, and Ty, but they also feel they'll play the most like Mike White with a dash of Fabio and a sprinkle of Courtney Yates. Only thing I can kind of, assess there is Evie. That's the only person that I'm able to say anything about. Evie was great. I feel like Evie was kind of robbed on their season. I think they would have done a lot better had they gone farther. And maybe we're on a different tribe, but love Evie. Anyway, a value in alliance partner is that they tend to gravitate towards women. As far as abilities, they look for intelligence, ability to the mental math. They can't do tendency to enjoy. They have a tendency to enjoy gossiping. They also like when people are super eccentric and have a cynical side. They just kind of want to work with everybody. Their favorite hobbies are writing, thrifting, reading nonfiction, the internet, Planet Fitness, and legit Survivor. Pet peeves are when people are consistently late and makes them very angry and upset. Something that we would never know from looking at them is that they did an 18-mile unicycle race in 5th grade. They used to be fully addicted to the spicy snack Takis. 3 years and now haven't ate it in 3 years. They're also 3 years clean, which is great. And they feel like people think that they like crafts, which they don't. And then their biggest inspiration is the mom and dad answers, which, they talk about how they always say that, but that is what they would say. They're going to be the sole survivor because people like them and they like people. Their strategic and physical attributes will never be underestimated, but sharp. And their social game is going to be killer. And I feel really good about their chances, honestly. I really like what they say about how they kind of get along with everybody and they really want to kind of just value anyone in an alliance partner, but that they also have, they have their things that, they prefer. And I think that's really good. I like that they talk about how they want to, meet somebody that's maybe a little more eccentric and also have like this more cynical side to them. It seems like they are willing to work with anybody. And I think that is just such a good skill to have in Survivor. When you go into Survivor, and this isn't just with Survivor. I mean, we just saw in Big Brother 26 that there was somebody that went into the game wanting to play a certain way, wanting to have a certain kind of ally. And then when they didn't know how to play the game anymore. And I think, the best way I can describe that is that you want to try to work with anybody that you can. And I think Teeny is cognizant of that. Teeny knows going in that you can't just go into the game wanting to play with like a physical threat. You can't just go into the game wanting to play with somebody that's going to be like super strategic. You have to really open yourself up to anybody, and then you can pick the path that you want. And I think that is just really good answer. Like, I feel really good about that when it comes to Teeny. They also talk about how they enjoy gossiping, and they're someone that is probably going to end up hearing a lot. And then what that tells me is that they're going to either start being like a really like, manipulative player that's able to like, turn a bunch of people against each other, and that's going to work to their liking, or they're going to be the ones to, hear information from others and they're going to be, hankering for it. The only concern I have for them with that is that I hope that it doesn't end up making them too messy of a player to where they just start saying shit to say shit. Like they want to start drama. They want to start chaos. I hope they don't end up that way, because I think, again, I see a lot of the potential within them. I think that they, besides Aysha, who honestly, aside from that, this tribe's kind of lacking for me. I think that they have a lot of potential, and I really do feel like they are going to go very far in this game if they play the way they say they're going to. I really do feel good about their chances. They seem to know a lot about what they're talking about, and just in general, I think that, you know, Teeny is somebody that people are just really going to find themselves gravitating towards, because they are willing to open themselves up and, you know, break down those barriers. They're not even going to have those barriers because, again, they're not closing themselves up to anybody. And I think that is just really great to see in Survivor. They're not going to try to, you know, count out anyone. And, you know, I think that's great. The only thing I do worry about when it comes to that is that I hope it doesn't mean that they're too trusting and that makes it so they can kind of just gravitate towards anybody. But based on their answers, it seems much more like they're willing to connect with anyone and then just kind of see where to go from there. So yeah, Teeny, I do feel really good about, and I hope that they end up going very far. So when it comes to Lavo, like I said, kind of lacking for me. Not really a tribe that I feel like is going to do that great. I feel really good about Aysha, but then I don't feel so great about, and I feel good about Teeny. But everybody else, I honestly don't know. I think Rome and Kishan especially, I really don't know. Genevieve, I hope does well. And then Soul, I don't really get much of anything from. So right now, if you had to ask me about the tribe that I feel like I'm the least invested in, it probably is this one, aside from the two people I mentioned. So that's Lavo. And then we move on to our last tribe here, which is Tuku. Yes, Tuku is the last tribe we're talking about. Look, they said Survivor 47 is going to have some new stuff, but the three tribes of it all, that's still not going to go away. I just really hope they end up balancing it better. I think this was a huge issue in 46 for me. They did it really well in 45, but 46, they seem to really struggle with multiple tribes, with having to focus on three tribes. So I really just hope they do a better job of getting us to know everybody. But anyway, we're going to move on to the next person here. The first person in Tuku is this is Caroline Vidmar. She is 27 years old, and she's from Palos Verdes, California. She currently resides in Chicago, Illinois. She is a strategy consultant, and three words to describe her are adventurous, enthusiastic, and supportive. She wants to be part of Survivor because it's been her dream to be on Survivor since she was 5 years old. When she was younger, she loved watching Survivor and just seeing how happy that people were when they won a challenge. And as she grew older, she began to understand how grueling and tough that Survivor really is. And the more she fell in love with the show, watching survivors who were down in their luck still fight, persevere, and even thrive, taught her the power of resilience. And now she's ready to put her own resilience to the test and play the most epic game that there is. Life experience she feels to prepare for the game is after her final Survivor interview, she flew to Chile to backpack the Patagonia W trek. It was fantastic endurance training. So wow, she's willing to do pretty much anything. Players she identifies with the most, she gives some very interesting answers. She talks about Tori from 42. I don't feel like that's one we hear that much about. Emily from 45, very much into that one. I really liked Emily. And then she said she loved to play like D. Her strategy drove the game. She was smart, perceptive, and kept her best move secret from other players until the final tribal council. In alliance partner, she wants someone who thinks that they can beat her in the final tribal and who she also thinks she can beat. Alliances with the dynamics are the ones that actually last and dominate the game, which I very much agree with that. Favorite hobbies, trying new foods while traveling, biking along Lakeshore Drive in Chicago, hosting game show themed competitions, including a chopped cooking contest, hot one spicy nugget challenges, and amazing race themed scavenger hunts. Pet peeves are incompetency, loud chewers, people who ask her to complete something by a deadline and then send a follow-up before the deadline. Something we would never know from looking at her is that she grew up playing a ton of water sports, including water polo, swimming, kiteboarding, surfing, and scuba diving. So she will have no problem with all the challenges that involve swimming. I think she's going to thrive in that, honestly, based on this answer. Biggest inspiration, she has three of them. Her dad, as well as her brother and her mom. Again, very typical answers there. And then she's going to be the sole survivor because it's taking her a little. She's going to say that she's been preparing for this experience for a long time. She has the grit, determination, and expertise needed to win. And I feel pretty good about Caroline. I mean, I feel like similar to some other players I mentioned, she knows what she's getting herself into. I think that she seems to be someone that I think is going to get along with people socially. I think and hopefully in turn, that means they also get along with her. I think her biggest thing is that I don't think people are going to realize how physical she really is. She talks about how she's really good at like water sports and things like that. So she might be someone to keep around for that reason. There's a lot of challenges in Survivor that involve swimming, and it seems like she will have no problem getting to do that. And I think she honestly could be a really big, like, physical threat. I mean, she literally talked about going on this, like, endurance trail, like, after her interview. So, like, she is very much up to the task. And I can see her, like, winning a ton of immunities and being somebody that also, while also having this really good social game and bonding really well with everybody. So I can honestly see her being somebody that kind of has that triple threat type, mentality, that has that like sort of triple threats. What's the word I'm looking for? That she has that triple threat within her. Like, she's very physical. She's very strategic. She has that social game. I can see that for Caroline here. I think that she has a lot of potential. I like that she also has hosted a lot of different competitions. And then when she talks about an alliance partner, I mean, she talks about how she wants to create some kind of group. She wants it to be long lasting. And I would agree with her on that. I think that you need to have those dynamics early on and really establish them throughout the game to kind of be able to dominate. And it seems like that's really what she is looking for. And I think she has the tools to do that. I think that she really can be this big threat. The only thing I worry about with her is she talks about D, but D was able to play the game in a way that a lot of people simply couldn't. She was a very dominant player, and she did it very silently, but she also was in this alliance that was kind of running the game. And I don't know if Caroline is going to be able to replicate that. I hope she's not going into the game wanting to replicate that. I hope she wants to play her own game. And I hope that ends up working out for her, because if she goes in wanting to play that kind of game, again, similar to other players I mentioned, you're not going to play that game. Most of the time, you're going to play a different game than the game you're going into play. So if it works out for her, then great. But right now, I don't know if that's the game she's intending to play, but I hope she's willing to adapt as a player. And if she does, I mean, I can definitely see her getting pretty far. Like I said, I think she's going to be a big physical threat, but I think she's going to do really well socially. So overall, I feel pretty good about her. But let's see how the rest of her tribe is. So that is Caroline. We're going to move on to the next person here, who, again, I'm going to pull up. I don't know why it takes me so long to do this part. I just can't seem to find anybody. It doesn't help that I have a million tabs open on both of these. All right. Gabe Ortis is the next person we're talking about. He is 26 years old. He's from Baltimore, Maryland, currently resides also there. He's a radio show host, and he's opportunistic, resourceful, and blunt. He wants to be part of Survivor because it opened a door to write himself into a new set of history books, and he wants to make his mark before those books get written. One life experience that's preparing for the game is that he's worked a ton of jobs many people were qualified for, but he got very adept at selling people on him, and those interviews translated great to getting on and succeeding at Survivor. Previous player that he's the most is, he says that he's a bit of a lot of players to resonate and will emulate, but to be honest, he doesn't want people to compare him. And I'll get into that, but I really like that answer a lot. Who he values an alliance partner is that he just wants to trust himself. He wants to have that anyone but me type mentality and really just be his own ally in that way and not really have to rely on anybody else. Favorite hobbies are live sporting events, poker, and snowboarding. Pet peeves are passive aggression. He wants people to say what they mean. Accomplishment he's most proud of is hosting his own talk show in Baltimore on a major station. He left the job to pursue Survivor, but it was the saddest decision that he ever made, because it's something that he would never know. And there's something that we would never know from looking at him is that he owns 2 cats, Chachi and Saba. He comes off like a dog person, but he prefers cats. Biggest inspiration and why is his older brother. And he wants to be the sole survivor because he can read people better than anyone that he knows. Also, if he gets an idol, he is playing it. And okay, so some things I like about Gabe. I like that he said that he he wants to be his own ally. He doesn't have to rely on anybody. He wants to focus on himself. And I think that's good. You want to trust your own instincts. You want to, be able to be somebody that above all, put yourself over others. Survivor is an individual game. Yes, you do need a group of people, but you do want to focus on yourself. And I think that is a very good skill to have, not just in Survivor, but in any game. And I think that's something that Gabe is well aware of. So I think that's really good. I like that he talks about how, he's somebody that is, very, very resourceful. He's someone that I think people will really gravitate towards, but the bluntness and him talking about passive aggression, that's what I worry about. I worry that based on those answers, he's going to be somebody that is willing to get into fights with other, players. And as a result, it's going to end up hurting him. It's going to come back to haunt him. And he's going to end up in a position where he kind of finds himself as somebody who people are starting to see as a liability. Maybe they'll start to see him as a threat of sorts, and it's just not really going to end up working out. So I hope he keeps that to a minimum, and I hope he's not someone who ends up, being focused on paranoia. Like, oh, this person is not saying what they're actually saying, and I feel like they're lying to me. Like, that could absolutely hurt his game if he tries to have that mentality. So again, I hope he keeps that to a minimum and that doesn't end up defining his entire game. Because again, he says that if he says that is a pet peeve of his, that's not something that's just going to go away. And a lot of times in Survivor, people do keep information to themselves. People don't be completely honest with you on how they feel. And I worry that he's going to be a bit too honest and it's going to end up hurting him in the end. Now, I will say, someone who is more honest over a cast of people that are withholding information and are a lot more to themselves, that can stick out and that can definitely end up helping you because you're the one person that's willing to say how they feel while everybody else keeps it close to their chest. I think that is really good. But is that the cast Gabe is playing with? Again, I'm not sure. And I really don't know how this is going to be. I do feel like this is a cast that is mostly going to be very strategic and kind of keep things to themselves. And I don't know if Gabe is going to really vibe with that. I worry, again, that he's going to be just a bit too upfront, and I worry that is going to hurt him. So, yeah, I like some of his answers, but right now, a bit of a question mark for me. It really is just one of those instances where if that bluntness comes shining through, I really do worry it's going to hurt him. But if he can use it to his advantage, then maybe it will actually end up working out. So that's really how I feel about Gabe overall. Hope he's really good, but right now I don't really know. Okay. We only have a few more people to talk about here. Oh my God, this video is almost 2 hours long. This always happens. I'm always like, oh, it's not going to be that long of a video, and then it ends up being pretty long. So we have 4 more players here. We're going to try to go as quickly as possible. And by quick, I mean the video is probably going to be 3 hours. But anyway, the next person here is Kyle Ostwald. He is 31 years old. He's from Sheboygan, Michigan, and currently resides there. He's a construction worker, and 3 words to describe him are fun, ambitious, and creative. He wants to be part of Survivor because it helps inspire his children to change their wildest dreams. He wants to share some of those challenges in life to show others that because life knocks you down, it does not mean that you are not worthy of a journey. It happens more than we like, but it's not about the knockdown. It's about how we choose to get back up, no matter how hard it is, because every single time you get back up, you end up a little taller and better than before. A life experience that we feel has prepared him for the game is van life, traveling around the country for 6 whole years, living in a van. So he's very well adverse to that kind of thing. Which previous player identifies with the most is Jesse from 43. His main goal was to win, and that is what made it for his family, and that is what major reason that he applied. He says that he's going to play most like JT because he was just a good person doing his thing and climbed the ladder while making other folks feel uncomfortable with his character remaining in the game. In an alliance partner, he wants someone that is honest, even if it means that he's about to get the short end of the stick, someone who can cut the shit and give it to him straight. He wants to stand aside, even if it means that there is a bumpy road ahead. He loves to travel, and he loves being a dad. Pet peeves are people sneezing around and hearing people chew food. Those things drive him insane. accomplishment he's most proud of is building his family a house by himself with minimum to no help from anybody. Something we would know from looking at him is that he is the reason that he strives to see people and be happy is because he doesn't want anybody to feel the pain that he's felt in his life. And he doesn't want anyone to know what he has really gone through. His biggest inspiration is that look at the way his life started and what he's done. Life straight up dealt him the recipe for disaster, and he ended up finding a way to turn that around. He's going to be the sole survivor because he's pouring every ounce of heart and soul into this game. He's not just playing for himself, he's playing for his family and an opportunity to bring home enough money that he can not only present with financial freedom, but also an opportunity of generational wealth, something that could take care of his family for generations to come. And yeah, I mean, right off the bat, definitely get the sense that this guy is going to be very hands-on. He's going to be that guy that, he's going to be the one like trying to put together a hut. He's going to be the one trying to build all these different things. He's going to be the one trying to, he's going to try to get the fish. He's going to try to get whatever food that he can. And he's going to be that very crafty person within his tribe. And I think that's all really great. The worry I have with him is that he's going to be a bit too closed off. He says that he doesn't really want people to know what he's gone through. And that shouldn't be too much of a problem as long as it doesn't translate to gameplay and him not telling people too much. That could definitely end up being an issue. I like that he says he wants a straight shooter when it comes to alliance partners. I think that's always really good. And I think that that's something that is definitely very important to have. You want to have somebody in the game that you feel good with and that isn't trying to beat around the bush and will be just 100% honest with you. I think that's honestly like ideal in an alliance member, is just somebody that you feel that you can pretty much tell anything to. I think that's always really good. So I like all of that, but he talks a lot about just, again, being really crafty, building things. I need to know more about this guy beyond that. And he does talk about it. Like he says that, he's lived in a van and things like that. And he's had to like eating food from a dumpster and things like that. And he's had all this personal growth. I think that's all really good. And yes, Jesse had a very like similar story in that way, and it really did work out well for him. I just don't know how it's going to work for Kyle and how he's really going to do. I do think that he seems very resilient and he seems kind of willing to just kind of throw himself into anything. So in that way, I think it's definitely a positive. And I do think that that is definitely going to help him. He definitely seems like he has this really like inspiring story. And I think that a lot of people will latch on to Kyle as a result. So right now, I don't really know. I don't really know how to feel about Kyle. I hope he does well, but we will really just have to see. Anyway, let's move on to the next person here, who I believe is one of the oldest people to ever play Survivor, at least from what I read. I don't know who the like oldest person ever to play Survivor was, but I believe from what I read that like this next person we're discussing is pretty high up there. And yeah, I think, you've already figured out it's Sue. Sue is the next person. Sue Smey, she is 59 years old. She is from Kirkwood, New York, and she currently resides in Putnam Valley, New York, and she's a flight school owner. She is badass, fearless, and an adrenaline junkie, and she wants to be a part of Survivor because it's been a lifelong dream since the very first episode. She's a competitor. She wants to see how she holds up under the most exciting adventure in her life. She wants to be pushed to her limits. What a thrill. She wants the title. She wants to be a legend, and a life experience to prepare her for the game is that she grew up spending summers on an island with generations of family. They were poor, no drinking water, no hot showers, no heat, and she kind of had to schlep to the water well with jugs for water, jump in the river to bathe, start a fire for cold days. The experience was far worse, but she had an idea of what to really expect. Previous players she identifies the most with is Tony as well as Cerise. She wants to be a combination of both of them. What she values in an alliance partner is alliances are temporary, so she's not expecting much from anybody. And she's also she's hoping that they don't lie to each other. As a teammate, she's hoping to learn a new language, maybe to dance, maybe learn about someone's culture or spiritual beliefs. Favorite hobbies are racquetball, tennis, snow skiing, ice skating, building stone fireplaces, making mantles or wood columns. Pet peeves are one-uppers, people who talk too much about the stuff that no one cares about, who can't read the room, energy drainers, people who are only negative and complain all the time. which that might be an issue. That really might be an issue because I feel like there's going to be there's always somebody like that. There's definitely going to be someone like that on her tribe. But something that they would never know from looking at her is that she's a Sigma female. She's an introvert. She thrives to be a champion, but she doesn't want to pat herself on the back. She believes that she's powerful, but she treats people with kindness and humility. She will always defend the underdog, even if she doesn't know them. She loves to live life and all it has to offer. The biggest inspiration is her uncle. She grew up in a very dysfunctional environment, and he always took the time to help her see it. If it wasn't her fault, he showed her pure, unconditional love. And she's going to be the sole survivor because she's a badass. She's not afraid of anything or anyone. She's going to take the lead and follow her gut. She will take out the threats and work on manipulating the others to do what she suggests. And they will see following her will help them to get far, and all will respect how she plays. And yeah, I mean, I definitely do have a lot of hope for Sue. I think immediately coming onto this cast as the oldest person, yes, there's always the fear that that's going to hurt her, but I feel like in recent seasons, I have not seen that really be an issue. I do think that it actually will end up helping Sue. I think that she's just going to be someone that everyone finds themselves gravitating towards, and she's going to have this like pull on others. And I think that's really going to end up working out well for her. I can definitely see her bonding with quite a few people on this tribe, like someone like a Kyle, someone like a, even Gabe and Caroline. Like I see her vibing with them so far, and I definitely do feel like Sue has a lot of potential within her. I really like the passion that she has. I like how excited she is. It kind of reminds me of Angela's passion in Big Brother 26. And I don't think we're dealing with that level of passion, that level of, energy. But I do definitely get the sense that she's like excited to be here. This is a lifelong dream, and she's going to do Sorry, my internet just like randomly went out. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, yeah, I think Sue has a lot of potential. And I really do think out of this tribe, which I've not really been feeling much towards, I do think that she definitely seems to be right now. If you had to ask me, she probably is the person I feel the best at. As like, I think she's going to do the best in this tribe overall. But anyway, we move on to our next person here. Where is it? We only have 2 people left, by the way. We're almost done. Okay. So next person we're talking about here, this is Tiyana Hallums. She is 27 years old, from Aysha, Hawaii, and she currently resides there as well. She also is a flight attendant, and she's adventurous, multi-passionate, and funny. She wants to be on Survivor, saying that why doesn't she want to be on Survivor? She loves to challenge herself. She wants to see who she is. When everything is stripped away from her, she wants to afford and thrive in Hawaii as a native Hawaiian. She wants to support her family in all aspects. She loves adventure and constantly pushing the envelope, and she wants to show out for Hawaii and let everyone know that Hawaii is much more than aloha spirit. She loves this game. Life experience that prepared her is that she is a D1 athlete. She played volleyball for Gonzaga University and sand volleyball for University of Utah. She learned key lessons during that phase of her life, like teamwork, handling adversity, the value of hard work. She thinks that she's capable of more than she thinks that she is, and she also learned the ability to play with emotion, but not let it overtake strategy and rational thought. The player she thinks she identifies the most with is Parvati. She thinks a lot of women do because she used every part of herself to win. Sensual, cunning, strategic, athletic, and was the master of her own destiny. She also loves Gabler. He was constantly networking, but knew when to take a back seat. Great. I don't love Gabler, but I'm glad you love Gabler. He listened and observed before making a move. He won individual immunity challenges and could read situations people really well. In an alliance partner, open communication is huge for her. There are going to be times where she won't be at certain conversations, and she needs to be able to trust that her alliance partner will tell her accurate information so they can protect each other and make moves together. She also values someone who's willing to make a big move, who's willing to play fearlessly with her, someone who's playing to win, not to lose. Favorite hobbies are reading, yoga, hiking, going to the beach, eating everything, travel, sand volleyball, pickleball, so a bunch of other stuff, bunch of sports, trying new beers, making craft cocktails, journaling, rewatching The Office for the 1,000th time, and also spin. Pet peeves are entitled people, people who don't use their blinkers when someone talks at her, not with her, people who make others feel lame for caring about things, and pessimistic people, loud talkers in public spaces. That might end up being an issue, but we'll see. Accomplishment she's most proud of is the relationship she's built with her siblings. Building solid relationships takes time, patience, unconditional love, support, and dedication. Her siblings mean the world to her, and the bond that they've created over the years is something she wants to cherish more than everything. Something we never know from looking at her is that she's a really deep thinker. She loves asking people deep questions. She's fascinated by the human psyche, and she always feels like she's the life of the party, but she thrives in one-on-one conversation. She puts a lot of effort into really understanding that person, their passions, and what makes them them. The biggest inspiration and why is her mother. And the sole survivor is she's gonna be a sole survivor because she's smart, tenacious, cutthroat, socially aware, and has a magnetic personality. She has the ability to make people feel comfortable and can effortlessly make genuine connections with just about anybody. People have an easy time opening up to her, and she plans to use that intel against others. She wants this more than anyone, and she'll stay up finding 1,000 idols if she has to. And holy shit, I really love this girl. I think that she has so much potential. It really just seems like she has such a good handle on the game. Things I got to talk about right now. When she talks about, an alliance partner, she talks about how there's going to be things that maybe she isn't there for. There's going to be conversations she's not in. She wants that alliance member to get her up to speed on what's going on. And that is so important. And that's something that, I've played games before, and there's been times where maybe I wasn't talking to certain people and the others let me know what's going on. And it definitely helps in that way. And I think that's really good. I like what she says about how much she is this deep thinker of sorts. And she's someone that is willing to explore pretty much every facet of a person. She's going to connect so well to everybody. I really do see her being somebody that everyone just ends up feeling really good with. I think her and Sue right now on that tribe, might just end up running the tribe. Honestly, I think Tiyana has so much potential in that way. I really do feel good about her. And then I think also, what she says about, just making all these good connections, how she's someone that, has this athleticism to her. I mean, I just think she has so much potential. And I really do think that she is someone that could legitimately win. I feel really good about Tiyana. It seems like she really knows what she's getting herself into. She has that energy. She has that passion, but she also has this like deep sort of more emotional side of her that's willing to really get to know people. And I think that is something that people just really end up valuing. There's a lot of fakeness in these games, and seeing her just be willing to just, be a human and have these conversations, I think it's something that is just going to be really refreshing to others on her tribe, especially if this is a tribe that has a lot of people that are a little bit more schemy and a little bit more like, just not as willing to be authentically themselves. I think that she's really going to end up shining through. So yeah, I feel really good about Tiyana. I think she has a lot of potential, and honestly, probably one of my winner picks. If I really had to say, I don't have a definitive one right now, but honestly, out of the people we've read, it might just be her. I just feel really good about her answers. I really like her energy. I really do feel like she can win this game just based on what she ended up saying. So yeah, I feel so good about her. I think, again, I like her strategic abilities, but again, I think those one-on-one conversations are just so important in games, and she understands that so well. And I just really just feel like she's going to come in here and she's going to kill it. So I feel really good about Tiyana. But we move on to the last person on the Chuku tribe. The last person also that we're discussing in general, and that is where is this person? This is Terran Foster, otherwise known as TK. He is 31 years old, and he's from Prince George's County, Maryland, and he currently resides there. He's an athlete marketing manager, and 3 words to describe him are spontaneous, genuine, and ambitious. He wants to be part of Survivor because his entire life has led him to this moment, from being a dad going to prison at a very young age to being diagnosed with a kidney disease that almost killed him in high school. Since he was born, he's been beating the odds, and this beautiful game gives him the chance to do that again. Life experience to prepare him for the game is his kidney disease, which has prepared him. He knows how to be comfortable with people, with being uncomfortable, and he's kind of experienced living in the intensive care unit for almost 2 months, and that experienced him to create a mental state that can't be drained. Previous player he identifies with is all-time favorite is Tony. He was so unapologetically himself, and he respects that. But he also talks about a player like Caleb, although he hopes to make it much deeper in the game than he did. Value in an alliance partner is authenticity and trust. He doesn't want to be aligned with someone who's just being a character for TV. He wants someone that will stand on business for him and just be themselves. Favorite hobbies are watching football, going to the gym, and playing his Xbox. Pet peeves are unmotivated people who think they know everything, someone talking over him when he's speaking, and bad hygiene. And the accomplishment he's most proud of is his career. Football was taken away from him due to illness, and he told himself that some way, somehow, he would work in professional football. He went to college and studied sports management, and many of his professors says that he would most likely end up in life insurance due to him picking that major. He now works as a marketing manager for NFL players, once again beating the odds. Something we'd really never know from looking at him is that he's kind of a nerd at heart. He loves video games, he loves anime, he loves sci-fi films, and he really likes nature documentaries for some reason. So he very much has that within him. Biggest inspiration is, once again, his mom. And the reason he's going to be the sole survivor is because he puts his mind to it. Once he has a goal in sight, it's rare he doesn't achieve it. He knows the odds are stacked against him, but that has been the story of his life. And yeah, I love this guy. I think he has a lot of potential. And we'll really see. Oh my God, Rome is watching. Hello. I don't know if that's the actual Rome, but that's really cool. But anyway, yes, when it comes down to TK, I feel really good about him. I think that just in general, he just seems to have such a warm personality, but also the fact that he has survived the absolute worst. He's had that kidney disease, and he's been in really vulnerable situations before. He's willing to put himself in these really, so he's been through some really debilitating situations, and Yeah, I did say that, Rome. I did say that. Again, we'll see how you do, but I did in fact say that I was a bit unsure, just based on some of the answers. But thank you for watching. Really, it means a lot. But anyway, I know I was not expecting that at all. That's so cool. I think that's the first time that's ever happened on one of these. But anyway, when it comes down to TK, I'm just really excited to see how he does. I think the fact that, again, he's someone who wants people to just kind of be themselves. Again, similar to what I said about Tiyana, I think that's so important in these games. You want someone that isn't willing to just play it up for the cameras, because if you're someone who I feel like you're just like being game body, I don't feel like I can connect with you. If you're being yourself and we're able to break down those barriers and we're really able to connect on a deeper level, then I feel like we can go the distance in Alliance as a duo. And I feel like that's something that TK is really valuing in Alliance members. But I also think he's just going to connect really well with basically everybody. He seems like that kind of person that everyone's just going to feel really good with. And I think he's going to go really far as a result. So yeah, I feel really good when it comes to TK. I have a lot of potential. I feel there's a lot of potential within him overall, and we'll really see how he ends up doing. This cast kind of is most of the guys on the cast, Rome, I know you're watching. A lot of them are just kind of lacking in terms of answers and didn't really give a lot. TK is one of the ones that really sticks out to me, and I really do feel very good about, especially on this tribe. I wasn't feeling great about this tribe at first, but hearing TK, Tiyana, and Sue's answers really ended up turning it around for me. So yeah, I feel really good about TK, and I feel like he's someone that absolutely can end up going far within this game. But yeah, overall, that is the cast. And that's really where we're at this point. I'm really excited to see how this season is going to go. I think that there is a lot of potential here. If you had to ask me right now, the tribe that I'm probably the most into, I would probably say Gata. That's probably the tribe that I feel the best with. Everybody there, you know, you got Andy, you got Anika, you got Rachel. Anika and Rachel especially, I felt really good with. Sierra, I think, had some really good answers. Andy, I really like a lot. Over on Lavo, for me, I'd say the contenders are probably Aysha and Teeny. Everyone else, I'm not really sure about, and we'll have to see how they really do. But those are the two that really stick out to me on that tribe. And then when it comes to Tuku, I would probably say Caroline, I think, has a lot of potential, but really Sue, TK, and especially Tiyana, who honestly might be my winner pick. I think they have the most potential, and I really think that they are going to go far. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about this cast. I really just hope this ends up being a really good season. I think there's, like I said, I think there's a lot of potential here. I'm really also excited to see like what different things are brought to the table. They said that we're not going to get like the sweat and savvy task. So I'm really interested to see how they change that up, because I do feel like the premieres have gotten just a tad formulaic, and I think that's a really good way to kind of like throw a wrench in there and kind of make things a little bit more exciting and unpredictable. But above all, I hope this is a really fun group. I hope this is a cast that I really end up enjoying and really find a lot of personalities from. But yeah, overall, that's really it for my thoughts on this cast. I'm really excited to get to talk about this season on a weekly basis. I will be doing individual episode reviews for this, and very similar to Big Brother, I'll be doing it the same way. Obviously, this is only one episode as opposed to 3, so I don't know if the videos will be quite as long, but with 2 hour and a half episodes, maybe they will be, because like I said, every time I say a video is not going to be long, it ends up being over 2 hours. So yeah, anyway, that's really it for this video, though. Hope you guys enjoyed it. As always, comment down below. Let me know what you guys are thinking of this cast of Survivor 47. Would love to hear your thoughts on all of that. If you like this video and you haven't watched my channel before, I have covered other Survivor seasons. I also cover Big Brother, as well as regularly do movie reviews and TV reviews. And if any of that is something that interests you, I would love to, you definitely should consider subscribing. But other than that, that's really it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And, thank you all for watching. Rome, especially. That was really cool to get to see you in there. And I hope that this season ends up going really well for you, despite the fact that, like I said, I was a little bit unsure how to feel. I really hope you end up doing well on this cast. And yeah, other than that, that's it for this video. And I will see you guys later. Okay, bye.